What's up, YouTube peeps? Justin here. We are back getting into the collection a little bit. I've got a short stack of CDs. We're in the B's still. And I've got a couple of records that I just bought that I want to talk about. I'm going to vent for a little bit because I'm not happy about something. And we'll talk. We are listening to Nihil Nocturne. I don't know a whole lot about Nihil Nocturne. I have two of their tapes that I've had for ever, 15 years probably. This is Death Undo All Names. This is a demo. It's just Xerox copy, folded over. This came out on Ordo Obscuri Domini, production and distribution. Don't know shit about them. I'm not sure where this falls in their discography either, but it's just grim, nasty black metal, and I've always really liked it. I listen to it every so often, but I need to kind of research them more because I really like it. So, we're going to get into the collection. We left off with Black Circle last time, one of my favorite black metal bands. So we're going to jump right in. I got lots of black bands. So we're going to go with number 1, Black Crucifixion. Black Crucifixion is related to Beherit. They shared the same drummer. And Black Crucifixion started at the tail end of Beherit's first kind of run. But this is their first demo, The Fallen One of Flames. This was a CD issue of that demo that came out in 2005. And it was a split between several labels. Paragon, Soul Cellar, their own label, and Hellfire Technology. I got this as a promo years ago, but I actually put it in my car the other day. I wanted to catch up on it. And it's only 3 songs and an intro and an outro. The first song, Flowing Downwards, is this fucking killer, slow, brooding track. It reminds me of Samael, kind of Into the Pentagram sounding stuff. But then the third song, Master Spirit, almost has like a surf guitar riff in the beginning of it. And this kind of polka beat, and it just loses me quickly. And then Goddess of Doom, the 4th track, is just kind of a generic black metal song. Production's here. It's pretty raw. It's old. I mean, this stuff was recorded in like 1990. They have several records since then. They may even still be around now, but I'm not sure. But I really like the first song on this, and after that it loses me. So, Black Crucifixion, The Fallen One of Flames. Next, I have several CDs by one band that y'all will probably be pretty surprised about. But I'm a pretty big Black Dahlia Murder fan. And I have every one of their full lengths. Black Dahlia Murder, to you, those of you unaware that are more into the deep black metal or death metal scenes, they get lumped in with metalcore, they get lumped in with deathcore. But I mean, at their heart, these guys are a melodic death metal band, and they're really, really fucking awesome, I think. But it took me probably 10 years to warm up to them. 10 years of seeing them in Metal Maniacs, and seeing them in Decibel, and seeing them all over the internet, before I saw them one night in Jacksonville, Florida. And even then, I was like, okay, I enjoyed them live, but I can't get into it. And it wasn't until this record came out, Ever Black. This is 3 full lengths ago, but I bought this one, and I enjoy it. It's full of riffs, it's full of awesome solos. Trevor Schnad is a great vocalist, but they're kind of they do what bands did in the 80s. They put out a record every 2 years. Every 2 years you got an Ozzy record, and every 2 years you got a Judas Priest record. But they're consistent, and these guys have been touring constantly for 15 years now. But they're a tight, just really streamlined melodic death metal band. But they'll tour with metalcore bands, and they'll tour with death metal bands, and they'll tour with black metal bands. But these guys are lifers. They're career musicians, so they got to get out there and play. But I saw them several times. I would always go to see a different band they were on tour with, and every time I enjoyed them more and more. And then I've read lots of interviews with Trevor and watched interviews with him, and he's a death metal, moron like the rest of us. He loves this shit, and I ended up meeting him last year. We played a fest in Kentucky, and he was there. And my band was one of the bands he wanted to see, so it was pretty validating that this guy in this huge band liked my band, and I would have never thought that. So we got to hang out. And both of us got really, really drunk that night. It was a lot of fun. But I have since gone... I hit up a sale one time, and I got all their full lengths at the time that I needed. It was about 5 CDs for $6 a piece. I think through Indie Merch. But, so I've got them all. I've got Unhallowed. I've got Miasma, the second one. Nocturnal, Deflorate, Ritual, Everblack, Nightbringers, and Abysmal. But they're just good. They're consistent. All their records are good. But if you want to kind of get into them, you can go with the new one. Nightbringers is excellent. It's got killer Necrolord artwork. But still, my favorite is probably Everblack. So, Black Dahlia Murder. A little left of center for some of you guys, but I think they're killer. Next, we've got one CD by Black Funeral. I really like Black Funeral. This is the only one I have, Empire of Blood. I bought this from Full Moon Productions years ago. It's a Full Moon release. Grim medieval vampiric black metal, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like cold Transylvanian black metal, grim production, grim atmosphere. But I just love this shit. I mean, it's kind of necromantic titles, your standard mid-90s black metal photos. But I really, really like Black Funeral. So, just good, grim, cold black metal. Next we have, this one's interesting. This is a comp. I talked about in one of my videos that I don't store comps under various artists. I have them under just whatever the name is, most of them. And this is Emerging from the Flames of Rebellion. This was a compilation put out by blackmetaldvds.com, which was Ben Smasher's label that later became Pagan Flames. I probably got this from Ben in 2002 or 3 or whenever this came out. This is number 215 of 1,000. And this is just a killer comp of some cold black metal bands. You have Sado Goat, who became Sado Mater, who I really, really like. Otar, Thunderbolt, Forest, killer Ukrainian black metal. Zasthir, back before anybody really knew who Zasthir was. Woods of Ypres, when they just had a demo. Sin Origin, which was a really rad, cold, nasty black metal band. I don't think they're around anymore. And then, of course, Ben's band, Satan's Almighty Penis. So, I'm sure these are out there floating around, but if you're ever in the mood for, just a compilation of some random black metal bands, there's a good one. Okay, one more from the infamous trade, Black Harvest. White Light Came Down. This is still sealed. I have no idea what this is. I'll look it up after this and throw a link down in the description below, and we can check it out together. By the way, it seems that every video I'm doing, I'm coming across several CDs where I'm like, oh, this is still sealed, or I don't know what this is. And you guys have been great with throwing links down and talking about them. And I just love checking out shit we've been talking about. So keep it up. So last but not least for this round, we have Black Sabbath. So we wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys, and you wouldn't be watching this as metal fans if this band never existed. We all owe a huge debt to Black Sabbath, whether you like them or not. I feel like every metal band in existence goes back to Black Sabbath, or they go back to Slayer, or they go back to both, which is the best. But admittedly, I'm not a huge Black Sabbath fanboy. I love Black Sabbath, but I think across their first 10 albums, they had about 3 or 4 albums worth of really killer songs. There's lots of filler in there. So first and foremost, of course, I've got the first one. I've got the self-titled. There's 1,000 versions of this album. But this started it all. I mean, Black Sabbath, the song, is the Doom song. It's the template for everything we do. I've got some randoms here. I've got Volume 4, which I love. Volume 4 is probably, it might be my favorite one out of the Ozzy stuff, but I go back and forth with all of these. So I really love Wheels of Confusion. I really like Changes, even though it's a ballad. I really, really like Changes. And I actually put this on the other day just because I wanted to hear Changes. And then if we go post-Ozzy, I have Mob Rules and Dehumanizer. I've picked these up. I think both of these were like $5 at Best Buy one day, and I grabbed them a few years ago. Mob Rules I really like. I like Dio's voice. But I never knew much about Black Sabbath post-Ozzy. As a kid, I never knew that Black Sabbath existed without him. But I like Mob Rules. I mean, I like the Sign of the Southern Cross a lot, and I like the Mob Rules, the song. But Dehumanizer, I know a lot of people love this record, but I cannot get into it. Like, I've tried listening to it several times and never gotten more than a few songs in. It just doesn't do it for me. And I'm going to try again. I'm going to put it in the car and see, like, what is not clicking. But I just, something doesn't jive with me, and I don't know what it is. And then I've got a little box set here of the first 10 albums. Or the first 8 albums. It's all the Ozzy albums. So, they're all in these little slip sleeves. So it's just, if you need to know everything about Black Sabbath, here you go. I got this at Best Buy a few years ago. It was like $40 for, you know, the first 8 albums. These cool little slip sleeve cases. Master of Reality, Sweet Leaf. If you ever ask me, Sweet Leaf is my favorite Black Sabbath song. Don't know why. I'm not a stoner guy, but that's got the riff to end all riffs in the beginning of it. That is the stoner riff. And I worked in retail years and years ago. And we had a sound system that pumped in and played music every day, and it played Sweet Leaf all the time. So I just grew to love it. So anyway, that's Black Sabbath, and you should all love Black Sabbath. So that ends it for CDs today. I did a much shorter stack. I feel like I've been doing too many of these at once. I wanted to try to get through them quicker, but I can't do stacks of 20 CDs. It's just too much to talk about. But real quick, we're going to talk about something different. I got 2 records in the mail this week, and like a lot of metal fans, guys and ladies, we're also horror movie fans, and I'm a huge horror movie nerd. Maybe we'll talk about those someday, because I've got a lot of them. I have a huge VHS collection that's currently in boxes in my garage. I don't have anywhere to put them. But one of my favorite horror movies is Shockwaves. Shockwaves was a movie that came out in the early 80s about Nazi zombies that lived off the coast of Florida at a rundown resort on an island. And you know, so people show up and all hell breaks loose. But Shockwaves is great. It has this really, really nasty, minimal electronic score. And it finally got issued, not reissued, but issued on vinyl for the first time by Waxwork Records. And Waxwork is a boutique label that puts out soundtracks. And they do these extremely nice releases. I mean, heavy, heavy cardstock jackets, heavy vinyl. Just no expenses spared. But my biggest complaint with these, and the other one's even worse, is that nowhere on here is the original artwork or movie poster or anything represented. Now this poster, this art, this cover is awesome. That's a fucking killer painting. I'm not sure who it's by, but that's a killer painting, and the font is a throwback to the original title on the poster. And all of this, I mean, there's a very iconic scene in this movie where the Nazis rise out of the water as they're stalking people. But they're just, I want to see some, you know, something from the movie itself on here. It's got your standard insert with a little story about the score and making the movie from the director, and other than that, there's nothing. There's no other information. And then it came on this really rad kind of seafoam vinyl. So, I mean, this record is awesome. I haven't listened to it yet. I've heard the score a bunch. I've watched the movie a bunch, but I have a really cool hardbox DVD version of it. But I know it's kind of a shitty complaint, but I wish that there was more of the original look of the film represented here. So, but I like that one, the way it's done, way more than the way this one is done. And this is the brand new reissue of the Dawn of the Dead soundtrack. I hate the layout and artwork for this. It doesn't fit to me. You know, you've got this kind of cartoony painting in here, and I don't know, it's good artwork. It just doesn't look like the way Dawn of the Dead looks to me. You know, and there's little nods to the movie. I understand that. I mean, there's lines from the movie. That's a line in the beginning, and of course, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Everybody knows that, that's seen this movie. And like a lot of you, this is one of my favorite horror movies ever. But I'm just not a fan of the way this looks. I don't know what it is. It's funny, being a graphic designer, that's probably why I'm so anal about this. But there's a texture that they have overlaid the front of this. This texture is the #1 in the first couple of results on Google. If you Google black paper texture, and I'm seeing this texture everywhere lately. I've used it. Lots of other people are using it. Stop using it. It's done. But that's just me being a graphic design asshole. This one is also on a nasty kind of green marbled vinyl, which, I mean, it's a killer release. Waxworks stuff is top notch, best of the best. It's a little pricier than regular in some releases. And then here we've got this insert, which is just a rehash of the cover with nothing on it. I just don't get it. But this is a double LP of course, the score of Dawn of the Dead was done by Goblin. You know, the band, the Italian band, most famously known for scoring this and many other scores, my favorite of which is Suspiria. A little interesting trivia, Goblin has been around for about 50 years, and they didn't play their first American show in the States until about 4 or 5 years ago. And the very first show of their tour they played was in Atlanta. So I got to see Goblin the first time they ever played in America. I think that's pretty neat. But I love the music on this. I love the movie. I'm just not crazy about the way this looks. But that's me being petty. So anyway, let's talk about it. See if anybody else feels that way. I got some more CDs coming up. We're going to do more ranting, and we're going to do more new acquisition videos, and we're going to keep going through the collection. And I want to keep talking about them, so we'll see you guys soon.